Hello, welcome back. Another video on the subject of the Beatles. Now, I've been putting this off for a little bit of time, mostly because I've been trying to get my head around the concept, but also it's quite a daunting task. I did my top 10 favourite songs, and this one for me is because I like all their albums. All their albums great. They've got their gems in them. They've got their throwaway songs as well.
Don't encourage him. You've got the part, Paul.
It's definitely going to be subjective. And I dare say no one out there will list the albums in the same order that I do. Now, I'm not going to include the Love album by Giles Martin. Fabulous album. If you like a mashup of Beatles tunes where the track plays and you think, oh, hang on, that's the drums from The End, that's the guitar solo from Taxman, but it's in The Word, and the way it's just a good album. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it. I'm not going to include the Beatles collection, the rarities, the love songs, because they were all released on the Parlophone label after the Beatles. So it's from Please Please Me all the way through to Abbey Road. So let's start with the first album, which was, of course, Please Please Me, released on the 22nd of March 1963. And this was their epic, record it in one day album. In fact, they did it in, 13 hours, something like that. Fabulous. Next comes With the Beatles, a mere 8 months later on the 22nd of November 1963. So then in 1964, on the 10th of July, we get A Hard Day's Night, which coincided with the movie. So it was the album track of the movie. Then on the 4th of December 1964, we get Beatles for Sale. Now, I've kind of always wondered, is it the Beatles for Sale, i.e. House for Sale, Beatles for Sale, or is it The Beatles and the album is called For Sale? I never get my head around this. I think it's just Beatles for Sale, isn't it? But does that mean that the spine of the record has The Beatles, Beatles for Sale? I don't have the LP. Maybe if someone's got the LP, they can leave a comment below. Okay, August 1965, we get Help. So it's their second sojourn into a movie soundtrack and the release of a subsequent album. I think the last album before their touring ends. So on the 3rd of December 1965, out comes Rubber Soul. And then on the 5th of August 1966, we get Revolver. And these kind of two albums are the beginning journeys, as it were, of their more prolific artistic writing and recording techniques and production. And then the 1st of June 1967, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. 27th of November 1967, The Magical Mystery Tour. Perhaps not an official album because it was just an EP, right? It was released in the UK as a double EP, and it was the first double EP ever to be released in the UK. Again, a soundtrack to one of their movies. 1968, again the 22nd of November, pretty much like their second album, we get the White Album, or actually as it's officially known, just The Beatles, and it was the band's first double LP to be released. 17th of January 1969, and this is 3 albums in 1969, no, 2 albums 1969, isn't it? Yellow Submarine. Side A contains 4 new songs and then 2 previously released singles, and Side B contains orchestral soundtracks from the film. Then we get, and this is a list by release date. We get Abbey Road coming along on the 26th of September 1969, and then the official release date of Let It Be, the 8th of May 1970, 1 month after McCartney had released his solo album. Now what I'm going to do, because I want to rank the albums, I'm actually going to switch these last 2 around, because even though they were released separately, Abbey Road was released before Let It Be, they were recorded Let It Be was recorded before Abbey Road, so I actually want to switch these two around. So there's the albums as they were officially released, and now I have to make my mind up on how I rank them. Okay, let me have a think. Yeah, what I will do, you'll see my head going backwards and forwards so that I can remember what I'm actually going to say as I rank these albums. So in 13th place, Let It Be. This is largely a throwaway album for me. 3 redeeming songs: Across the Universe, Get Back, and For You Blue. I think everything else, Dig a Pony, One After 909's not bad. I've always skipped this album, and until I saw Peter Jackson's Get Back, I probably now give it a little more attention, but to be quite honest, I'm a little stuck in my groove. I've got an iPod Classic. I don't even use Bluetooth to stream music, Spotify and all of that kind of stuff. In fact, I piggyback my Spotify off my son's account. I refuse to pay for a Spotify account. But on my iPod Classic, if any tune, apart from those 3 I just mentioned, comes up, then skip to next track, skip to next track, skip to next track. And I suppose that's okay, you know? There's not every song a person is going to love every song. And I think, yeah, Let It Be, it just has to be the least favourite album. Number 12, I'll put Please Please Me. Yes, it was their first album, and it was an epic event. You know, it was the sort of the birth of what we have now in terms of the historical best-selling group in the world, the Beatles. This is their journey beginning. But I think it's just a mishmash for me. It's like, let's just hammer the thing out. So I'm going to put Please Please Me as number 12. So for number 11, I'm going to put With the Beatles. Their second release. It only contains, 8 original songs, 7 by McCartney and Lennon, and 1 by Harrison, and the rest are covers. And I guess for me it's like, it's all right having cover songs, but I think the band was just trying to get to its feet, and the lads weren't writing prolific tunes at this point in time. The songs are good, the ones that they write, but I think because there's so many covers on the first album and this album, that I can't give it as much credit as I give the later albums. So number 10, A Hard Day's Night. I think you can see where I'm going with this. A lot of their earlier material, apart from Let It Be, are coming in at the least favourite spectrum of my tunes. This one might surprise you. In at number 9, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The first track. Clever stuff with the orchestra all warming up and do, and you think, whoa, concept album, this is going places. And then after Ringo finishes with a little help from my friend, I think the concept dissolves. There is no concept. Perhaps I'm missing something. Perhaps the concept is the psychedelia, you know, that the songs represent something for the counterculture of the time. The art, the music as an art form is happening. But this album doesn't really do it for me. You know, it's probably better than their earlier rock and roll tunes for me. But yeah, I'm going to put Sgt. Pepper's here. Number 8, Yellow Submarine. Now this is peculiar because you'd think, well, surely that's got to be less of a favourite than Sgt. Pepper. You want to be swapping them around, because the B-side is all George Martin. I think there's 7 tracks on the B-side, 8 of which are composed by George Martin, and one of them is Lennon and McCartney but arranged by George Martin. But I do love all the self-composed and the Beatles music for the side A. I say side A, you know, when you think about an LP, side A, side B. And it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, can I have a little more? I'm a big fan of Paul McCartney's silly songs, so I'm going to put Yellow Submarine there. Number 7, The White Album. I think practically it's an exploration, as I've said in a previous video, of their individual solo efforts. When you think of the Beatles, right, on all of their albums, it's a collaboration. It's the magic of each of the members throwing songs at each other and bringing their own touch and feel and flavour to a song. But the White Album for me is very much kind of a solo effort. Yes, they did play on a number of songs together and they did perform those songs together, but there's also a vast number of songs that are individual efforts, and I think it shows on this album. Then number 6, what have I got here? Magical Mystery Tour. Let's bring that down. I like this. I love this album. It's such a bouncy and full of energy song. The movie was, quite bizarre, and I think also the fact that they had the recent bereavement of Brian Epstein, but they still had the drive to go and produce something. And yeah, I like this album. I'll put it here. I'm losing track here. Number 5, The Beatles, For Sale. Now, I first heard this album, I think when I was 17, 1980. And it was a real departure because I'd been listening to kind of skipping and backwards and forwards. So I'd heard the White Album before this, and I'd heard Sgt. Pepper's before this, but I hadn't quite heard... Had I heard Abbey Road? Yeah, Abbey Road 1978. I first heard Abbey Road. I almost know all the dates of when I heard them. But when I first got into the Beatles in my very early teens, with sort of the single player LP record thing, it was all their early material. So I get to the Beatles For Sale, and it's more of a somber, more of a dark, introspective feel, especially with Lennon's I'm a Loser and No Reply, sort of more downbeat to their poppy, rocky tunes. And I think for me, in terms of music, and what I like about music is a tune that has structure, but isn't just one chord or two chords or three chords. It's less predictable. And I think I found that in the Beatles For Sale. Particularly like that. Did I miss something out here? No, I didn't. Number 4 comes Revolver. That's what I was looking on my list here. I think because now we're getting into what I like to listen to in terms of Beatle music, and it's the experimental, it's the advancement, it's the evolution of their creativity. So the music incorporates sounds and overdubs and strings. Revolver gives us the kind of view of their journey through their psychedelia, the LSD. I think also at this point we're seeing the band evolve as individual musicians. And I know the White Album is where the conflict starts, but actually, is this the album where the conflict starts? Because you get Taxman on here, and McCartney lays down the guitar solo to Taxman late at night when everyone else has gone from the studio. Is that the story? I think it is, because he wasn't satisfied with George Harrison's guitar solo on the song. That was George Harrison's song, for heaven's sake. 'Cause I'm a Taxman. The Jam, Start. Is that not a direct copy? Dum, 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 dum. Clip here. Oh, I thought this would be a short video, but I think I'm waffling. Okay, last three then. Let's put, what have I got up here? Rubber Soul, Help, and Abbey Road. So you can see what albums I've got left. What a peculiar order that these songs are in, these albums. Right, let's bring down number 3. And that's Rubber Soul. It marks the beginning of the band creating music for an album's sake rather than releasing singles. So the whole concept of an album. And I think it was from here that society, sort of the UK music buying public, would go out to buy an album, not to buy a single, because they knew they would have the whole package. They'll get every song on there's going to be like a gem. And the band are bringing in new instruments again, and their writing is really coming to the fore. They're like really establishing themselves as composers. So that's in at number 3. Number 2, which one will it be? It has to be Help. I think because I grew up in Indonesia. My father worked in an oil refinery. He was a project manager of some variety. But he was very keen on his music, and he had, I remember he had these hi-fi, sort of Panasonic or Pioneer, whatever they were. But he also had stereogram, he had reel-to-reel tape recorders, pictures here. And so he was always kind of one step into the technological releases. And he had one of those single player cassette players, with the speaker and the press buttons. If I can get a picture, you'll get a picture of it here. And my sisters and I, so this was 1969, we were in Indonesia, and I have this strong recollection of the 4 of us, my 3 sisters and me, jumping up and down, and I was 6 years old, jumping on beds, playing the Beatles' Help cassette in this little player, and we would play Ringo's Alone Again, was it Act Naturally, and we would rewind it and play that song again, and we'd rewind it and play that song again, and jumping up and down on the beds. And so it has, just for that song, the album and the memories, it has a treasured place. But actually, I love The Night Before, and I love I Need You, and the movie. Oh, the movie is so good. If you haven't seen the movie, you probably have, but if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie. It's zany and crazy, and it captures the spirit of the Beatles. If you've ever watched any of their interviews, then, where they're doing wisecracks and they're joking with the interviewee.
Are you going to lose some of your Liverpool dialect for the Royal Show?
No, we don't all speak like the BBC.
We don't all speak like that, do we?
Bang, come up north.
Well, with that, all I can do, lads, is to wish you lots and lots of luck at Royal
Thank
Show.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a
so
lot.
much.
Jolly good.
Cheerio.
You said you had unresolved leading tones, a false modal frame ending up as a plain diatonic. What would you say to that?
Well, we're going to see a doctor about that.
For the name Beatles, and what does it really mean?
John thought of the name Beatles, and he'll tell you about it now. It means Beatles, doesn't it? That's just a name, like shoe.
Shoe. The shoes. You see, we could have been called the shoes for all you know.
What kind of girls do you prefer?
My wife.
Your wife. What kind of girl is she?
She's a nice girl.
What kind of girl do you like?
John's wife.
John's wife.
Totally not.
What's your plan?
Nobody likes a smart guy.
Okay, so in at number 1, bring it down, Abbey Road. It has to be Abbey Road. It's my favourite album of the Beatles. I think for me what it does, it shows the collaboration of all 4 of them. And George Martin had said this, after the Let It Be fiasco, when Paul had said, we want to do one more album, can you come and produce it? And George had apparently said, I will, but only if we do it the way we used to do it. And so they all knuckled down and they produced. Many say that the opus magnum? Is that the word you say? Help me out here, people. But their masterpiece was Sgt. Pepper, and I think that it probably still holds true because it was the dawning of culture. Up until then, everybody was told what to do. After Sgt. Pepper, whoa, we'll do what we like. Is that a good analogy? Probably not. Probably not. I think you know where I'm going with that. But Abbey Road is, for me, their masterpiece. It's such a clever album. The B-side with the medley, is it 23 minutes of majestic, and that's a mashup. You know, you talk about Giles Martin doing the mashup of Love, actually splicing all of those songs together. It's a clever album. So there you go. I rank my 13 songs with a whole bunch of waffle in the middle, and I lose track because I do that. But then I did say I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and that's why I've been putting this off. But I've got 3 in the pipeline now, so stay tuned. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, because I'm planning my part 2 of Liverpool. That's coming up soon. I'm also going to do a video on why I think Paul McCartney is an excellent bass player. I won't go into say any more about that. But I also want to give you a video on my favourite covers of Beatles. So, yeah, stay tuned. Okay, I'll wrap that one up. Hopefully it's not gone on too long. And I will see you all in another video. Bye for now.